Hillary Clinton has just come out. For some reason, she keeps talking. She's still around. She won't go away. Like I don't know, radon in a home. It's very difficult to get rid of it. Like various pests that live in your walls. They just don't go away. Hillary won't go away. She's now attacking Sam Alito. You'll notice that the Democrats are increasing their attacks on the Supreme Court, specifically on probably the most conservative justice on the Supreme Court, Sam Alito, the man behind the Dobbs decision, because they are looking ahead at 2024. They are seeing potentially a contested presidential election. They know that the courts will be involved. The courts will certainly be involved in answering questions about the constitutionality, legality of prosecuting Donald Trump, one of the two major party nominees. They might be involved, as they were in Bush v. Gore, in deciding the election. So Democrats are getting out ahead of this and attempting to delegitimize the court, a strategy they've been building on for some years now. Hillary Clinton is joining the fray, and she mentions that she was in the U.S. Senate when Sam Alito, and even when Justice John Roberts were up for confirmation, and she gives her insight as to why she voted against both of them.
You know, I was in the Senate when both John Roberts and Alito were nominated to the court by George W. Bush. Therefore, I had a chance, as you rightly say, to interview both of them. And I found John Roberts to be a kind of conservative, corporate-oriented lawyer who had a kind of preconceived notion of the way things and people should work. And I voted against him because I thought he was, not only a candidate of the far right, the Federalist Society and their agenda, but that his life experience was just too narrow
to really
be.
Put a pause here before we get on to her invective against Sam Alito. Chief Justice John Roberts is a candidate of the far right. John Roberts, the man who gave us Obamacare, who twisted himself into a logical pretzel to explain why Obamacare, obviously unconstitutional, must be preserved. That he's a man of the far right. She just admitted in the same breath, oh, Roberts, he's kind of a business guy. He's like a business Republican. He's not really that concerned with the social issues. He's just like a business guy he's a corporate-minded conservative, an institutional man, you might say. But anyway, he's a candidate of the far right. There's another phrase that you're seeing crop up everywhere. The far right, the far right, the far right. The far right now means anyone to even slightly the left of Hillary Clinton. That's everyone. They say it about me all the time. They say it about people at the Daily Wire, people at Fox News, people at The Blaze. These are mainstream conservative outlets. These are the biggest conservative outlets in the country. Everyone is now the far right. And if you were ever tempted to think that they were being honest here, just know they consider John Roberts, the meek and mild-mannered Episcopalian who gave us Obamacare, they consider that man to be on the far right as well. So she voted against him because he just had a preconceived notion about how things are. Who doesn't? Only a child, only a totally ignorant child, bereft even of the ability to speak, doesn't have a preconceived notions of how things are. And actually, because the natural law is inscribed on every human heart, even little children have some preconceived notion of how things really are. What does that mean? You think Elena Kagan doesn't have a preconceived notion of how things are? You think Sonia Sotomayor doesn't have a preconceived notion of how things are? You think Hillary Clinton doesn't have a preconceived? Of course they do. If you've ever thought about anything, that means you have conceived of things, you've conceptualized things, and then, assuming you don't, you're not put up for confirmation to the Supreme Court the very day that you start thinking about things, then you have certain preconceptions because you've thought about them before and you've come to certain conclusions. That's called thinking. That's called education. That's called growing up. And she attacks John Roberts for this because he came to the wrong conclusions in her mind. He doesn't, actually, I don't even know what he thinks about abortion or whatever, but he's not as liberal as she is. So that's too bad. His life experience is too narrow. Life experience is too narrow means white guy. He was a white guy. That's why she voted against him. You think Sonia Sotomayor's life experience isn't narrow? You think she has a broader life experience than John Roberts? I don't think so. I'm not denying that she has a different life experience than John Roberts. She does. But When they use that for a narrow life experience, all they're saying is, we don't like white guys. We don't want white guys to be in positions of power. That's what she's saying. That's the way the phrase is used in our DEI gobbledygook kind of culture. She goes on to attack the real object of her ire, Sam Alito.
Really be in that position. Alito struck me almost immediately upon sitting down to talk with him as a radical, as a fanatic about his views of culture and the role of religion in our society, and his religion, not maybe yours or mine, Mark's, but his religion. And I found him scary, and I said so on the floor of the Senate when I voted against him. We got the judges that had been groomed, put into the pipeline to do what they are now doing.
Hillary accidentally gave away the game here. Because you hear all the usual stuff. Oh, he was scary. He's far right, and he's far right and scary because he's religious. This is different than John Roberts, who's not that religious, it seems. But Sam Alito, he's real religious, and that scared me because of his religion. Not yours or mine, interviewer, but his religion. What she's admitting here is that she doesn't have a problem with religion in politics per se, because Hillary Clinton also is a fairly intelligent person, and she knows you can't have politics without religion because politics involves applied morality, which comes from religion. Hillary's problem with Sam Alito, the liberals' problem with Sam Alito, is not religion. It's his religion. And what is his religion? He's a Catholic. That's what she doesn't like. This is the most naked anti-Catholic bigotry that I have seen in politics since Dianne Feinstein was grilling Amy Coney Barrett, who was up for a federal judge position. And she said, what worries me about you, Judge Barrett, is that, or at that time, I suppose, Professor Barrett, is the dogma lives loudly within you. It'd be one thing if you were just a kind of mildly religious, or I don't know, if you were Episcopalian or Methodist or something. But you believe in this Catholic dogma, and you really believe in it. It seems that, you have a lot of kids and you practice your faith, and you can't have that dogma live loudly within you. This is the Democrats undermining a basic provision of the Constitution, which is that there will not be a religious test for public office. There were some founding fathers who seemed open to religious tests for public office. John Jay writes about how he thought only Christians should hold public office. John Jay, who is one of the authors of The Federalist, who's defending the Constitution, nevertheless, he says, look, it's a Christian country. We should have Christian politicians. And he writes this in letters. Nevertheless, in the Constitution, we see no religious test. And of course, you need if we had a whole spate of politicians whose religion was the anti-American religion, the anti-Constitution religion, well, that would create a political problem because the Constitution would have allowed these people to come in to undermine the Constitution, to undermine the whole country. But that's what she's saying here. I don't like Sam Alito because he's a Catholic. We don't want their religion. That's what James Carville's saying. I don't like Mike Johnson because he's an evangelical. We don't like these Republicans because these Republicans are more openly Christian. They're speaking in moral terms, which for most of our history, going back to the founding of the party, going back to Abraham Lincoln using language straight out of the King James Bible, has typified the Republican Party. Ooh, we don't like this because when Republicans talk in this way, that's based on solid principles that comes from true religion that animates our country and that has animated our country through our country's growth, then they're a real threat. And we Democrats don't like that. That was a good clip. Now, ring the bell, subscribe to the Michael Knowles YouTube channel. We'll see you next time.